historically, nominees, once they're named, once the president-elect announces the intention to nominate someone, the rule out of deference to advise and consent was no interviews, right? And so, Kristen, you said you'd like to see people out more. The reality is, Hegseth has shown, as long as you pay verbal homage to advise and consent, as long as you say how much you love your Senate courtesy calls and how great the Senate is and how important advise and consent is, apparently now you can go out and do interviews. And so I'll be curious to see if any of these other folks reach a problem situation, whether they choose to follow that path as well. And of course, you see people like Tom Homan, who's not subject to Senate confirmation. They're not only out talking to the press, they're out having meetings, and the National Security Advisor, same thing. The other thing I'd say is, and this is either a brilliant insight or the most mundane thing I could possibly say, but or maybe neither. Donald Trump is not a normal second term president because he had 4 years to think about it and to do other stuff, as you pointed out, not encumbered by challenges to his legitimacy as he was 4 years ago, 8 years ago, right? 8 years ago. Yeah, 8 years ago. And yet, with all this experience, and as you said, Tricia, the validation of having been reelected, like if you're an incumbent and you get reelected, it's not as much validation as what he just did, right? Increased, won the popular vote, won all seven battleground states. This is in some ways a much stronger second term than a normal second term, and a bunch of people who aren't nearly as tired, right? You go into a normal second term, you got a bunch of cabinet secretaries who stick around, but they're tired, and the White House staff, same thing. This is like a bunch of fresh new people, and these Silicon Valley people who've never worked in government, they couldn't be fresher. They're all fired up and ready to go. So that's my either insight or couldn't be more obvious point. But I think you see that in the president-elect himself, who by every account all three of us get is in like a fantastic mood, super excited. But we've seen now both today in his tone at the press conference and in his Meet the Press interview, this is like some other guy impersonating Donald Trump. He's calm, he's thoughtful. Did I just say it? He's thoughtful. And clearly, like this is a playbook. This is not some accident. This is a turtle on a fence post. Who's ever talking to him about a comm strategy couldn't be more different than some versions we've seen.